Cross my heart. She drew an X over her chest with her index finger. Her eyes were wide at the prospect of what Ellen might reveal. She'd learnt about so many things from her wise friend. Periods, illegitimacy, the music of the Jackson 5, and syphilis were just a few of the topics that she'd been enlightened on in the last few years. Ellen had explained that this was the benefit of having older siblings. They knew stuff. Sometimes, as thunder cracked over Bristol and darkness cloaked the city, Vivienne would stare at the thick curtains of the box room where she slept and think about the tantalising information that her friend had shared. She felt waves of guilt and fascination for these snippets of wickedness, certain that neither her mum nor her grandma could know about such things. And the idea of mentioning them to either, oh my good Lord, she would die of shame. Ellen tried her best to whisper, but for her this was a near impossible task. Her voice had a natural booming resonance that meant Vivienne always heard her before she saw her. It was just after break time, and I was minding my own business, and David Batchwood told me to look under the desk. What did he do that for? Vivienne was impatient. Well, I didn't know what for until I looked, did I? Ellen tutted at her friend's stupidity. What did you see? Ellen sat up and looked left and right, scanning the riverbank, confirming what she already knew, that no one was within earshot, and making the most of the added suspense. I saw his thing. His thing? Vivienne also sat up at this revelation, her nose wrinkled in confusion. Yes, Vivienne Peebles, his dingle-dangle. Ellen nodded her head, eyebrows raised, mouth fixed, her finger pointing downwards. He had it poking through the buttons of his shorts. He never did. Vivienne gasped, horrified and intrigued in equal measure. I swear on the Holy Bible he did. Vivienne placed her hand over her mouth, fighting the desire to laugh, scream and ask questions. But the temptation was too strong. What did it look like? She whispered, scooting closer to her friend. Ellen gave a little shudder and rubbed at her arms. Well, I only took a quick look, naturally. Naturally? Vivienne nodded, chewing her bottom lip with nerves. As I said, it was only a glance. Of course. Vivienne understood, completely. Just a glance. But it was kind of... Ellen cocked her head to one side, moved her fingers in the air and considered how best to phrase it. Kind of what? Vivienne prompted, hanging on her friend's every word, torn between wanting facts about this part of the male anatomy, the idea of which both fascinated and repelled her, and wishing she didn't have to listen. Ellen flicked her head as though tossing the long, luscious locks she craved. It was like a snail, she said, before falling back on the ground, covering her face and laughing loudly. A snail? Vivienne repeated, confused and crestfallen. This was not what she'd expected, not in the least. Ellen nodded. Uh-huh. What, like a curly little shell? She tried to picture it and failed. No, you idiot, Ellen boomed. She laughed loudly until she wheezed. Not a curly little shell, like a snail was poking out of the curly little shell. Oh, I see. This made more sense. Yuck! Vivienne joined her friend, flat on the ground, both of them giggling hysterically. Yes, yuck, and I ain't never going to go near one of those. Oh, my days. Ellen gave a shiver of disgust as she borrowed one of her mum's favourite expressions. Me either, Vivienne added for good measure, picturing the slimy little mollusk with its tiny tentacles waving blindly in the air. I tell you this for nothing, Ellen giggled. Ain't nothing as funny as a willy, Viv. I'm absolutely sure of that. Vivienne nodded in agreement. It sure sounded that way. Both girls were silent, each picturing why and how such a thing could ever be considered attractive or desirable, before looking at each other and collapsing again into another fit of giggles. After a couple of minutes, they managed to contain themselves. They sat upright, restored their hair, and tried to think sobering thoughts that might calm their hysteria. They were doing quite well, until an innocent lad on a rally chopper cycled by on